you know what nobody tells you? When life is kicking your ass, when the money's not coming in, your head's a mess and you're barely keeping it together, when somebody says to you, just think positively, that is the emotional equivalent of telling a drowning person to just swim. It's not motivating, it's infuriating. You don't need somebody chirping on about gratitude when your anxiety is through the roof. You need something real, something that is actually going to help you rather than some wishy-washy crap. Because when you're burnt out, when you're broke, when you're stuck in a loop of why is this happening to me? You don't want the fluffy advice. You're looking for a way out. And I've been there. So in my 20s, I lost my first business. I lost my house. I lost a lot of relationships that I thought at the time were solid. I ended up living in a caravan at the bottom of my grandma's driveway. I remember going to the bank manager to talk about finances and the debt that I was in. And he said, well, you're young, you'll bounce back. And I remember at the time, it just wasn't a helpful thing for him to say. At that point in time in my life, I was in a really dark place. It felt like month after month of waking up with this sinking feeling. I was seeing the whole world through what felt like a really negative grey filter. Everything to me felt really heavy. It felt like the world was against me, that I would never find a way out. And the worst part is, back then, I honestly believed that it would always feel that way because my brain had trained to see me as being stuck. So if back then somebody had told me to just focus on the positive, it wouldn't have been helpful. I would have thought, well, do you know what? I would love to, but I genuinely don't know how to do that right now. So here's the truth that nobody tells you. The change for me, it didn't come from some big magical moment. It wasn't some sort of Tony Robbins high five yourself in the mirror kind of breakthrough. It was slow. It was messy. And it started with me making very deliberate decisions to do life differently. So I changed who I surrounded myself with. I looked at stopping letting my environment choose my mindset or dictate my mindset. I even moved to the other side of the world. I migrated out to Australia from the UK. Now, this wasn't to run away, but it was to reset. It allowed me to rewrite that internal code that had kept me playing small, that had kept me being negative, that had kept me stuck in my life. Now, I'm not saying that you need to pack up your bag and move continents or anything like that, but I do need you to understand this. And that is that you can't build a new life with the same lens that created the old one. Because here's what's happening under the surface. Your brain, it has a built-in filter. It's called the reticular activating system, or the RAS, if you want to shorten it down and make it easier to say. But the RAS, this part of your brain, it will show you evidence to support what you already believe. So if you believe that you're stuck, if you believe that money is hard, or that people like you don't succeed, your brain is going to search your environment and only highlight things that prove that true for you. And as my mentor Chase Hughes says, the most dangerous belief that you can have is that beliefs are hard to change. Because if your brain believes that, it'll serve up a reason why you can't every single time. So if you're watching this video and it feels like life is really heavy, if you're tired of hearing advice that to you, whereabouts you are in your world right now, it feels completely out of reach, then I want you to hear this. You're not broken. You're not lazy, and you're not behind. Your brain is simply doing what it was taught to do, and that is to survive. But surviving isn't the same as living. And if you're watching this, you weren't made to just scrape by. You were made for more. Now, the first step, it doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be overly life-changing. Although the one thing I will tell you this is, underneath the surface, this little change that you're about to make is where it all starts. But this one little step, this first little step, this one little decision, it just needs to be real. Now, don't get me wrong, it is going to be hard. Your brain is going to create thoughts and voices that are uncomfortable. They're going to challenge you. But it's choosing the tiniest way to respond differently, to stop letting the old thoughts run the show and to start to challenge them. It's to realize that you get to decide. And if you don't decide, the situation or somebody else is going to decide for you. Even if today all you decide is, I'm ready to try, that little decision, that is enough. That is enough to start the ball rolling. If this message has landed with you, if something in your gut today has said, do you know what, that's me, then you're exactly the person who I made this video for. Now, every single week I share tools, stories, and perspective shifts to help you live what I like to call a life less ordinary, a life with more meaning, more confidence, more actual living. So if you want to keep exploring this path, keep hearing from me, then make sure that you hit that like button. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the channels so that you get notified of whenever a new video is released. And I wanted to leave you with this. You've got more strength than you think. You've got more power than you were taught to believe. I don't want you to think about this as you trying to become somebody else. I want you to think about this as just remembering who you are before the world told you to play small. I'll see you in the next video.